So, good afternoon, good morning, and good evening. Welcome to this webinar about the Dutch design principles. My name is Tije Goris. I'm from DTV Capacity Building. I will introduce myself in a bit. Welcome to this webinar about the design principles, the 5 keys to your success. There's a lot we could tell you about cycling or cycling in the Netherlands and how you could do it well across the world. But I've chosen this topic because I think actually this is the most important topic to talk about when we are talking about cycling infrastructure. The principles that I'm going to explain to you, they are transferable. And so they apply to each city, each culture, no matter what level of experience. They are the foundation to any design and to any network plan, regardless the standards that apply. And it leads, applying these principles simply leads to better plans, designs, policies, strategies, and campaigns. What I'm going to do, I'm going to introduce myself a bit. Of course, a brief introduction on the principles, some examples on how you can use them and apply them. And I would like to inform you about some further learning opportunities. Hope you are ready. I am. Let's go. While I'm introducing myself, I really would like to invite you to share a bit about yourselves in the chat. So where you're from, which country, which city, and well, perhaps a little bit about your interests. Perhaps you are an engineer, perhaps you are a planner, perhaps you're an advocate, or just someone interested. If you would like to share it in the chat. If you have questions, also use the chat. We will follow up on them afterwards. So we have some time for some Q&A and discussions afterwards. My name is Tije Goris. Well, simply put, you can call me TJ. That's easier. And I deliver unique trainings in, well, cycling infrastructure and other transport engineering related topics. Well, in this context, I work for a DTV consultants. We are cycling and road safety experts. We were, one of the flagship projects we are very proud of was the development of the famous Crow Bike Design Manual. Next to our consultancy, we've been delivering trainings and educational programs for more than 25 years right now. So we combine our subject matter expertise with didactical skills and really make these kind of events that make people smile and proud, as you can see here on the picture. You might have discovered this webinar opportunity through the channels of the Dutch Cycling Embassy. Well, we are a member of it, and Dutch Cycling Embassy has a lot of information, a lot of knowledge to offer on cycling. So also have a visit at their website. Well, what I'm really passionate about is teaching you the key factors in safe and successful bicycle infrastructure with a personal and proven approach. So we really, in our approaches, we have experts lecturing, we have action learning, we go outside in our classes, and we really make sure that you can apply everything you learn to your local situation. And we really pay personal attention, give you personal attention, and guide you in doing so. And in the end, this will lead to certification. I have some more information about this at the end of my story. So we really are there to, well, help you to translate everything we tell you about to your situation. So learn today, apply tomorrow. But this is what we are here for. The five principles, as already mentioned. And this really starts thinking about, if we are designing, whom are we designing for in the end? This is where it really starts. And we have all kind of cyclists, all kind of mobility devices, all kind of people using them in a different way for a different purpose. And we really need to think about the cyclist characteristics. Of course, we think a lot about cycling as a means of transport. So we want to be able to go to work, go to school, etc. We only have 2 wheels, so we need to weave a bit. We need to accommodate for that in our design. We don't have suspension. We do not have protection from the weather conditions, especially in tropical countries. It's really important to have some shade, for example. We don't have airbags or whatsoever. We are a vulnerable road user as a cyclist. We don't have mirrors, so especially if we want to make a turn, we really have to turn and we weave a bit again. So it's also a social activity. So imagine riding a car with your partner, for example. He or she would probably sit next to you, not behind you. The same as with a cyclist. We want to ride together and have to be able to have a talk. So this all boils down to the fact that a bicycle is human powered. So it's a human individual, a human being. And this is crucial, and this fact holds for every country, every situation around the world. And this is where the design principles are related to. If we can think about these principles, we really accommodate for these cyclist characteristics. You have 5 of them: cohesion, directness, safety, comfort, and attractiveness. I have some recordings available on these principles, so I would really like to invite you for a more extensive version on each of the principles. Go to this link. It's on the DutchCycling.nl. It's also on our YouTube channel. If you look for DTV capacity building, you will find these clips. But I will give you a really short version of these principles. When we want to go from A to B, we want to be able to actually reach our destination, our B. So if you have a lot of missing links, this is not possible. A network is as strong as its weakest link. And this is really what the first principle, cohesion, is about. We really want to connect origins and destinations and to enable cycle trips from anywhere to everywhere. From home to university, to work, to school, to the gym, to our shop. And by thinking of cycling networks, not just routes, but really a cohesive network, we are able to do this. And step by step, fill these blanks or fill up these missing links. In these networks, especially the more strategic corridors or the principal networks, we really want to provide a consistency of high level. And high level is, of course, relative to each situation. So consistency of quality, and through a networked approach, we want to facilitate and offer the cyclist for more than just one option. Of course, that's perhaps easily said from the point where I'm at in the Netherlands, but still, start with a link, but plan for a network. Your network should be perhaps your ambition, and step by step make this. Well, the second principle I would like to highlight is directness, which is really about creating short and fast routes and minimizing detours as much as possible. So we want to have it fast because the cyclist can become a competitive alternative to the car. But minimizing stops or detours is also good to imagine, because the bicycle is human powered. So we would want to avoid the energy we put in it. So minimize the stop. Stopping costs a lot of physical exertion, a lot of human powered energy, and we would want to avoid that as well. So fast, less physical effort, and to become a competitive alternative. And this can be done by, well, having a sufficiently dense network with sufficient alternatives, but also in street level to create more green time or green phases in traffic lights, or allowing cyclists to go through a street and forcing cars to make detours, for example. Summarized over here, thinking in networks, traffic management and circulation, but also traffic calming, really to decrease car volumes, and making the cyclist a preferred alternative, a more attractive alternative. The third one, safety. Well, I'm mentioning this one as third one, but please do not take this as the third in hierarchy. Perhaps it's the most important one. Unsafe cycling conditions are a very important reason for a lot of people not to start cycling. And think about concerned mothers, for example, a really important segment there. In the Netherlands, the segment of women riding a bicycle really is higher than men riding a cycle. So it's a really important target group there, and safety plays a crucial role. When we talk about safety, we actually distinguish two elements. And we think about health and, actually road safety. Let's step into the roads, to the health first, which is really about lowering stress levels, thinking about the benefits in terms of health, and minimizing exposure to pollutants such as exhaust fumes, PM10, particulate matters, NOx, etc. So all these exhaust fumes, that is causing negative health effects. But the positive ones, which are achieved through cycling being an active mode, really is at societal level really benefit that can really close business cases there. The second one, road safety, is of course that, the traditional road safety that we're after. And through our plans, through our designs, we would want to plan for avoiding conflicts, and where this is not possible, we want to minimize the impacts. And we think about safety in a holistic way. So we want to have a safe system for all road users, cyclists being one of them. Okay, how to do this is really segregating flows, creating larger offsets, or looking for quieter alternatives next to busy arterials. We want to avoid conflicts at intersections, so to really the massive roads, we really want to have off-grade solutions to cross. And where it's not possible to have an off-grade crossing, where we have to stick to an at-grade intersection or crossing, we would really like to lower speeds or arrange with traffic lights. Yeah, so in the essence, it's about avoiding differences in speed and mass and create homogeneous traffic flows. And this really starts at network level. The fourth one, comfort. The first three I've been explaining to you. They are more engineering type, you could say. They are more quantitative. Comfort, this is where it becomes more qualitative and perhaps more subjective. But through planning and through our designs, we want to really avoid traffic nuisance, avoid or limit the amount of stops. Already mentioned that. Optimize wayfinding, so you can find your way from A to B across the network. That also decreases stress levels, the anxiety of getting lost. We want to have comprehensible cycling experiences, even road surfaces to ride on, because we don't have suspension, generally put, and limit the amount of turning. Also, a lot of turning that is also, not so comfortable. And we really should not underestimate that, because, as mentioned, cycling is really vulnerable, and comfort, therefore, is important. And the fifth one, there really becomes subjective, is attractiveness. But there are some key elements there that hold and that apply when planning and designing for cycling infrastructure. What is generally conceived as attractive is lively, green areas, well-maintained, waterfront, and staying away from congested, busy, noisy areas and streets. I think everybody can relate to this. Also consider variety and surprise, so that's actually fun to ride your bicycle. That connections are lit. So this has to do with social safety. So you could discuss where to put this social safety part on which principle, but at least it's covered. And you can really think of making it an experience and use it for marketing purposes there. And so these are the theory, how it works. It's how it is explained. Let me also explain to you how it could be used in practice. So this is a case study partially hypothetical, partially derived from a project of my colleague, where we use this principle to evaluate, for evaluation purposes. In this case, to find the best route alternative to connect an A and a B. The case at hand, yeah, you see a map with, perhaps difficult to see, with on the southern end a black flag, and on the north end a black flag. And these are actually flags that are just imaginary flags at the border of some urban agglomeration. So north of the map, it's the edge of the southern edge of an agglomeration, and the southern part on the map the other way around. In between is quite a green area. And these flags have to be considered as a sort of access point to the northern part of the area. So on top of the map, there's the whole city, and on the southern end as well. But these are taken as a sort of access point to connect. And so this is the task. This was the task: how to connect these two with a cycling route. First step there, and perhaps you can imagine this, when exploring a route, several options could be conceived. These four were conceived with some variants there, with an A1, a B1, a B2. So basically, these really connect the two black flags. So that is quite, in the end, you should be able to follow this. So D, A, B, and C. And the question there is, okay, what is the best one? And there's pros and cons to each alternative. But what has been done is, yeah, let's use the 5 principles and to create a sort of assessment framework. So cohesion was in the end defined for this application. The connection to existing facilities, and also to reduce the mesh size or the mesh width of the network. For directness, detour factors played a role, but also the cycling potential. So how many people can be served with a better cycling connection? That has to do with the urban area that is within cycling distance there. So how many people can we serve with our route? Comfort, the number of chances of stops that was put over there. In attractiveness, an important role was social safety, especially the routes being interurban and going through perhaps some quieter and darker areas, especially at night. So that was an important part there. And road safety, and safety was an important element, the number of crossings with other infrastructures, and where can you mix with the traffic and where should this be avoided. These principles, these were defined also together with the local road authority, so responsible for achieving policy objectives. So these principles were used to make the framework, and then this was evaluated, applied. Here it was a sort of qualitative evaluation, a multi-criterion evaluation, and each element was, of course, it was studied. Also the Cyclist union played an important role there. They have a lot of local tested knowledge that was really important to really to go through each element, each detail of the route, and to come to a sort of score. And in the end, well, you can add up all the pluses and minuses, leading up to, well, the two most desired options. D, far to the west, they score very positive on directness due to the number of people that could be served on the western side, even west of the map. So that was an important element, and D was very strong at road safety, because along this route, a lot of separated intersections or off-grade intersections were possible. And so in this way, we evaluated all the alternatives in a structured way and come to a sort of conclusion. And yes, these are only 5 principles which really talk about Cyclist. What also plays a role in the end is, of course, technical feasibility and costs. Yes, that is also necessary to take into account. But really, from a cyclist point of view, this is how you could apply the 5 principles over there. So you could say that these principles together can be used in a flexible framework where criteria and weights can be determined for each application and also for each need or accent or policy priority that is there for a certain authority or other stakeholder there. Also, by structuring this, you can decrease the number of routes to be explored or really to be studied in depth. Of course, an optimal score on all the principles is a utopia. That is, as perhaps you already mentioned or already feel, when I was explaining these principles, there could be some contradictions there. And this is very natural, very logical. The strength of it is to discuss and really discuss where we need to compromise and whether we need to prioritize within the framework. And of course, as already mentioned, what is important or sometimes leading is the available finances, but also the physical space. What was important in one of the alternatives is that this study was to create a fast cycling route where we have a certain design ambition that we want to implement. So 4 meters or 5 meters wide bidirectional paths. If we want to achieve this quality level, then it should also be able. We must be able to implement it. If it's not possible in certain stretch of the route, then we have to find an alternative to implement this. So this is how it works. This is where I stop the talking. I hope that these principles, as such, as introduction, were of use to you. Also, I hope that it helped to present you with a short case study. We are organizing this webinar series each month. So next month, dates will be published soon, or Brecht, you might have the date already, and she can perhaps put it in the chat. So we have an inspiring topic each month. If you think this webinar is nice and other people in your network, your peers, your colleagues, well, they should know about it. Please forward to this, highlight this opportunity. Don't forget to follow us. We are mostly active on LinkedIn. Our Twitter channels are also there, and on our website you will really find all the comprehensive information, especially about this opportunity. Our Dutch bicycle infrastructure training that I'm hosting in July, 3 to 7 July. 5 days where we have a lot of site visits. We go to Utrecht, we go to Rotterdam. Even more important, as this is a car-dominated city that is now becoming a cycling city, you could say. A lot of case studies and a lot of people from all around the world. So it's really a unique experience. I invite you to also have a look at the after movie here. So if you scan the QR code that is on the screen right now, you will be directed straightly to our webpage with all the information, and the after movie is available there as well. Yeah, so thank you very much for attending this webinar. It was a pleasure to host you, to tell you a bit about Dutch cycling. And if you have the opportunity, I would really like to meet you in person in the first week of July during our Dutch bicycle infrastructure training. Go to our website for the after movie, also to download a free copy of our study guide. See you next time. Bye-bye.